This is not Big Brother is watching you. This is Suella Braverman beaming in from DC. And these are dark days for us. We've just had a devastating result. We've lost a lot of good MPs. So what went wrong? We had a truly great majority in 2019. We were promising to do what the British people wanted. What did we do? We were going to use our Brexit freedoms. I campaigned for Brexit. I voted against Theresa May's deal to ensure we had a proper Brexit. But we were going to use our Brexit freedoms to stop the waves of illegal migrants landing on our shores. We were going to stop the lunatic woke virus working its way through the British state. The harsh reality, this is a lesson we all need to learn and face up to, is that we did none of that. You know, what we mostly did after 2022, when Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister, was to roll out a programme that our new Labour government today could quite happily adopt on migration, on taxation, on the size of the state, on issues to do with politically correct nonsense in the public sector and indeed the corporate private sector. You know, there were farcical gimmicks like proposed smoking bans applied to people depending on what year you were born. There was more and more regulation that we were passing on businesses, on housing and development. There was nonsense like letting criminals out early and scrapping shorter sentences for lower level crime. We talked big, we produced policy paper after policy paper, but when it came down to it, we did nothing. We failed and refused to tackle head on the discussion about the role of out of control population growth in one very small place and the pressure that has put on pushing asset inflation sky high, on putting pressure on our public resources and our services, and on our cultural and national identity. The level of catastrophe really was aggravated by the fact that reform emerged on the political landscape as a phenomenon. Now, to my mind, the reform phenomenon was entirely predictable and avoidable and all our own fault. It's no good denigrating reform voters. It's no good smearing the Reform Party. It's no good comparing reform rallies to the rallies of Nuremberg. That's not going to work. Criticising people for voting reform is a fundamental error to make. We have had the monopoly on the right-wing vote. And we, by contrast, have had the luxury of a monopoly, but no longer. And that is why the Reform Party presents an existential threat to us electorally. We have to accept the simple, basic truth that the Reform Party has taken many of our traditional lifelong voters. They are now their voters, and we need to do everything we can to win them back. There is space in British politics for only one Conservative Party, and at the moment, our place in that spectrum is under serious threat. It was members who chose an election-winning Prime Minister in the form of Boris Johnson that led us to our success in 2019. And yet it was MPs who ousted him and replaced him with their choice of candidate. Rishi Sunak, installed by MPs, led us to our greatest defeat. This was really a way of robbing members of their right, of their voice, of their say. It cannot be allowed to happen again. We cannot control our borders. In fact, we don't have real sovereignty as long as we are judged and adjudicated by a foreign court in Strasbourg. So whoever is leading the party and whatever the composition of our party is, we must have now a policy of leaving the European Convention of Human Rights, scrapping the Human Rights Act. It's also very difficult for voters to distinguish between the Conservatives and Labour on these issues like immigration, taxation, politically correct policies within the public sector. We were mimicking Labour. It was hard to distinguish the two parties. We must fight to protect our national culture, which is precious because it unifies each and every one of us, and it allows us to feel at home in our country. That culture, what do I mean by that culture? It's a culture that's contained in our customs, in our religion, in our traditions, in our common law, in our architecture, in our music, in our arts, in our educational institutions, in our sporting traditions, and in our constitution. These timeless virtues that have made our country great over the centuries.